Hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of the Dwell Well Family Show. Today we talk about rhythms, how you can get started with them, and how they can improve your life. 'Cause I just wanna see the light.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Dwell Well Family Show.
Hi guys, I'm Aubrey.
And I'm Dwayne.
And this week we are talking about rhythms and how to get the things done in your life and in your family and homestead possibly that you want to do, how to fit them into your schedule.
Crazy schedules.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest questions that we had when we were thinking about just wanting to homeschool, wanting to homestead, we do both of those. And some of our just dreams is how are we going to fit this in to our already packed schedule? Would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that is a lot of your guys' holdups when it comes to things like starting a garden or getting chickens or anything that's just seems like a huge, big project. Where are we going to find the time? And so one of the most helpful things for us has been setting regular rhythms. And that all that is like a budget for your time, but not in a stringent, like I feel pressured way. Yeah. It's in a way of you telling your time where to go. Just like you tell your money where to go with a budget, you tell your time where to go with the regular rhythms that you have. And there are daily rhythms, which are things that you do every single day. There are weekly rhythms, and there are seasonal rhythms, things that only come up a couple times a year, and maybe even monthly rhythms. And we're encouraging you guys to sit down and look at where you're spending your time now, and then really decide as a couple where you want your time to go. So yeah. I guess let's just talk about like what the light bulb was for you when we first started talking about rhythms.
Well, I can say when it all really kind of changed for me, I guess. For us, I never had any time, right? I was always busy. I was in school. I was working. I was doing all these things. We have 3 kids. Life is crazy, blah, blah, blah. And sleep is something that I really, really like. But when we had our 3rd baby, I started to wake up and make breakfast. That was my thing. And it was kind of I'll do that while you're, feeding her and stuff. But that's it. Like, I'm going to go back to not doing that later. It was kind of in the back of my head, but not really. And I just realized by doing that and then adding a few more rhythms in the morning that whether I wake up early, whether I sleep in that extra hour, I feel the same. I feel the same every morning. Mm-hmm. And so it was more important to me to get into a rhythm of making breakfast, seeing my kids before I go to work, things like that. And I would give up that hour of sleep, or I would go to bed a little bit earlier. And so it was learning how to manage that. I can give this up so I can have this. Yeah,
the cost benefit analysis of what are you giving away, but what are you gaining? Mm-hmm. And that was, what he's talking about, it kind of reminds me of like habit stacking. So if you've read anything about habits or that book, Atomic Habits, talk about just like you build one little habit or one little routine or rhythm. And then when that becomes ingrained, it's really easy to just add like another little thing on top of that. And of course, this isn't like add on top of what you're already doing, but it's just structuring your day in a way that these little tiny things are going to build up to a lifetime of a life well lived, an intentional life, not just I just flew by the seat of my pants. I was pursuing all of these dreams and I wasn't really paying attention to my everyday, because we get so caught up in like the big things, but we don't realize that the power is in the little habits that we do every single
breakfast every morning.
Yeah, breakfast every morning.
I didn't used to eat breakfast, and now I do. Because I get up and I make it for the family. So.
Yeah. And I think we talked a little bit about that on the last episode, that breakfast habit. But what was really helpful for us, and I guess what we encourage you guys to do, is to sit down and think of the daily tasks that have to get done in your house, for your, both to live and then also for your mental clarity. Like for me, I need the house to be somewhat clean and not cluttered. I do not like a lot of extra stuff. It sort of unsettles me. And I just don't feel peaceful. I don't feel like I can do my most important job as a mom if I'm constantly picking up stuff. So many years into our marriage, we finally came to that discussion of like, okay, here are the things that need to get done. And hey, I'm a human. I actually can't get all these done by myself. I know this like nuclear family ideal that the woman is supposed to like do all the house cleaning,
Plot
raise
twist.
the children, and work.
You're not.
Yeah, right. Right. That can't happen.
You're not supposed to. It wasn't designed that way.
No. I actually think it's funny that the woman was the man's helper. I think about that sometimes. I'm like, I think that means you were supposed to do most of the work and I was supposed to help. I'm sure that's twisted.
Well, how do we define work now?
Yeah.
You bring home the bacon. It's just like, it's not real work.
Yeah. So anyways, so we wrote those things down. The daily things. Those were dishes, feeding our children and ourselves. Don't forget about feeding yourself. Although sometimes it's hard. What were some of the other daily? Picking up the toys. Yeah. Bedtime, those were bedtime, like who's going to do bath with the children. Yeah.
Story time.
Yeah. And then that's what I was going to get. And then after the like have tos, like those were the daily have tos. Then came the like daily, this is what I want. This is the culture that we want to create in our family. And so one of that is like, we really want to read books to our children. That's really important to us. It's something we love. We've just seen like a lot of fruit from that. And so that became a part of our nighttime rhythm was reading stories. Another one is like, we really want to eat meals as a family. So we try, even if we do have to get fast food, to like come home and eat meals every dinner as a family at our table. It's not always like, it's not always picturesque or really ever, because we have a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 9-month-old. But it gets better every single day. Yeah. And the author, which I'm losing the name in my head, of Atomic Habits, he talks about how like just need to make like little improvements every single time, and those little improvements add up to like huge improvements. So if you have a daily rhythm, you get to practice that every single day and get better at it every single day and fine tune it, right?
And I feel like when you start to do these little habits, you really start to see the fruit that you wish you were seeing. Like one example is TV. I don't really want our kids to watch TV. I don't really like our kids watching TV. I don't like the content that's out there now. I don't like their attitudes when they get done. There's just a lot of reasons TV is not something I'm super, super jazzed about. But for a long time when I was tired, I didn't want to take care of the kids anymore. I'd say, hey, you guys want to watch a show? Let's get a show. Let's turn on a show. And then 9 shows later, I feel terrible and all this stuff. Story time at night has been really helpful, because now our kids will ask us, can we read a chapter during the middle of the day instead of can we watch a show? I don't remember the last time really that they asked to watch a show. Because they know that I'll read them a chapter and it's more fun. We get into it, we get excited about it. So,
and that's a habit too, like watching TV. And we're not here to like rag on you for watching TV. This is because I
just don't like it.
We have had a struggle in our house with like it becoming a habit of like when Dwayne or I am tired, or when we just need like a break from the kids, or when the kids, and they can tell too, they know when you're getting like stressed out, and they're like,
they can smell
like,
weakness.
Can I just watch TV? And it became a habit. And then as soon as we just like, okay, we're not going to do that. We're just going to have movie nights on Saturday. We're not going to go to TV. Then they stopped asking for it. We just like said no a few times, and they stopped asking for it. And then we got in a different habit, which was like kids go play outside, or kids go, we're going to read a book, or whatever it was. Yeah.
The chapters led into other things, playing outside and all that. So it was like that little thing that we changed for something completely different led into the fruit that we were like begging for earlier in our parenthood.
Yes, exactly. That's so true. Because we never had this understanding of like, it's not all or nothing. It's just change one little habit at a time, one little rhythm at a time. So when we have that daily, so when you're thinking about daily rhythms, so the things you have to do, the things that you like love and you feel like your family is called to do as a part of you want to be a part of your family culture. Like for us, read aloud, homeschooling is another one of those things. Being taking care of our animals and being outside in the garden or in nature or another one of those things. And then, of course, saying hello to extended family. So we obviously live very close to my in-laws, and I talk constantly on the phone FaceTime with my parents who live in Indiana. Those are other values that we try to do every single day. And so we've built rhythms around that. Yeah. Like we have our morning time ritual routine, which consists of him making breakfast, me feeding the baby, and then all of us trying to eat together. And then we kind of go on through our day. He goes to work and I have more routines and rhythms with the children. And then we have our dinner time routine and our evening wind down routine before bed. And those are things that like, you don't need to, it's not about like, what is someone else doing? Sure, you can get ideas that way. And sometimes that's helpful. But it's only going to be built by you looking at how God's wired you, how your family is wired, how each individual of your family is wired, right?
Yeah.
And your life and what works for you.
Well, I mean, example, like one of our kids wants us to sing him songs before bed. The other one likes to read books before bed. So it's like, even in our little thing, I use the books because that's what I'm really into right now. I like the book series we're in. But different kids, different things. And they're all just as fun. You just have to figure out which one works for that kid or for your wife.
Yeah. So that's daily. And then a weekly rhythm would be like those things that you do once a week. So the tasks might be like meal planning, grocery shopping, for us, like taking the trash out, which is kind of a bi-weekly thing.
Depends on the project.
Yeah. And then like if you're going to have a Sabbath, a rest day or a family day, which we highly recommend, something we learned from family teams again, or family dinner, that's a weekly rhythm. So if something we took from that, from Jeremy Pryor from Family Teens, which I thought was really important, was if you are going to call yourself a writer or a homesteader or whatever, you should be doing that thing at least once a week, at least every week. Yeah. If it's really a part of your identity. And that's not to guilt you. That's to say, like, if that's what you truly want to do and that's what you feel called to, make room for it in your every week, because it's like life is never going to get less busy.
Yeah.
Really. Like there's always going to be something to steal your time. There's always going to be someone to run over your boundaries. We have to protect our own boundaries. And that's not like people are intentionally doing that. It's just if you let them, they will. That's how we are as people.
Yeah.
And so really making space for that thing that you want to do every week is a big thing for us.
Well, and I think understanding that like the 7-day work week or the 7-day week rhythm is built in. It is built in. And one of the interesting things we learned from, I don't know if there's a course or a book or wherever I learned this, but throughout history, they tried to do a 10-day week. They've tried to change up the week and it fails miserably every time. 7 days is built in. So know that and use that, right?
Yeah.
Like we need to be able to know that this is going to be a rhythm and we can use that for these things. We need this thing at least once every 7 days. And it's going to get built in. And then it becomes where you almost feel strange if you don't do it.
Yeah. Like movie night, like I mentioned earlier, is a thing that we do with my son on a Friday night. And he used to, and sometimes still does have like Saturday night, spends the night at his Papa and Gigi's house, and Sunday morning donut day. And kids love this. Like they're built this way. Rhythms. This is like our natural design. We've just gotten so off of it in our culture. But okay, so how has this helped us to do like some of the homesteading things that we've always wanted to do?
Well, I think part of it is, you learn not to waste time. We don't watch a ton of TV anymore because I have things to do. We have chickens and dogs and kids. That's one way that it's helped. But two, I think realizing that take this, put it here, take this, put it here. I have to give this up to do this. Was really helpful because same thing. Used to, I would sleep in until the last minute, and I would get up and like, oh, I hope I can shower before I go treat patients today. Now it's I have to get up and take care of the chickens or let the dog out or make breakfast or things like that. So the rhythms have just made my life easier. Everyone knows what it feels like to get up in the morning and be rushing and afraid that you're not going to make it to wherever you have to be on time. It's a lot easier when you get in a rhythm and know what your time is going to be used for each day. And it's fluid. It changes a little bit.
Yes.
But it's, it's enough of a rhythm that I don't get flustered.
Yes, exactly. And you see the fruit of what you're doing, like even over just like practicing that family dinner every week. And you get those really memorable experiences every single week with your kids, and it just builds up and you feel so much closer as a family. And you're really like seeing that fruit inspires you to try more things and to put more rhythms into place, like, and to willingly give up the sleep or give up whatever it is, because it doesn't even feel like giving it up because you know what you're gaining. And and then you see like, oh, if I'm spending my time on this every week, like how much it's like when you get those reminders on your phone of how much time you spend on social media. Oh, that makes me feel sick, because I see that and I'm like, oh my goodness, just in a week I spent so many hours on social media. Like, how much time of my life am I wasting on this one thing? Not to be, again, it's just awareness. Like, we're not going to go down the shame spiral, but awareness.
Well, it's like at church a while back, our pastor talked about just different things we spend time doing. One of them was video games with young men. Yeah. And not to shame or anything, video games are fine if you like that. It blew my mind that he said by the time men on average are 20 or 21 years old, they spend 10,000 hours playing video games.
Okay, reference, if you've ever read Malcolm Gladwell, am I saying that right? Yeah. Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, he talks about the 10,000 hour principle and how it takes 10,000 hours to basically become like an expert or a master or genius at whatever. Like, you could become
he told us in the sermon, he said you could literally be a concert pianist.
Yes.
You could get a bachelor's degree. With that time, which that's spread out over 20 years, right?
And people will argue that, like, okay, video games is building
there's some good things.
They're building like connections in their brain and yes.
But that's just one example where it's like,
but is that what you want them to be doing?
Nobody turns 21 and thinks, I probably spent about 10,000 hours playing video games. It's like these little things just sneak by. It's a slow drip. And then you realize, like, wow, I could have a bachelor's degree instead.
Yeah. Yes. And so it starts, it doesn't help to just look back and think, what if I had done this? But it helps to just look at your week now.
Yeah. What's the next 20 years look like?
Pick like one thing that you're going to implement this week and next week and the week after that to do consistently. And just, you'll be amazed at the fruit that you'll see in your life and your family's life. And also, like, to realize, like, it's okay if we mess this up one week because we're going to try again. Like, it's the same thing with food. I teach intuitive eating. And so I teach people to view all food as, like, morally neutral. So it's okay for them to eat, like, any foods, right? And when people first start to allow themselves to eat, like, let's just say the cookies that they used to restrict, and they used to restrict it for so long, and they would binge on it when they finally got the opportunity. They had this like restrict binge mindset. Well, then I would always, when they start to make peace with it, I'm like, it's okay. Like, you can have that cookie tomorrow and the next day and the next meal. Like, if you want a cookie, you can have a cookie whenever you want. Yeah. And that mindset like frees them a little bit to be like, okay, like, I'm going to enjoy a little bit of a cookie, but I don't need to binge on it. It's sort of the same mindset.
Yeah, it's like if you're
going to try again.
You missed a workout one day, so tomorrow I'm going to work out for 6 hours to make up for it. It's like, that makes no sense. You'll be dead.
Yeah, yeah.
It's okay. Miss the day and move on. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, you get another chance, like the next meal, the next day, the next week. So that's a beautiful thing about rhythms. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about next, which is just like, what do you do when you like get out of a rhythm? Or when you go through a season of transition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think one is not beating yourself up about it
Mm-hmm.
is the first thing. I think a huge thing too is, for me, I've started to realize that when we miss something, like church has been hard for us lately. Every week it feels like a different kid has the sniffles, and it's like we miss, and then you kind of get used to missing a little bit, and Aubrey not so much, but me, it's like, man, I could use that extra hour of sleep. Not really, but
Make me just look like a saint.
just going the one time, it's like it just kickstarts things back. So I think once you have gotten that rhythm, even when you get out of it, it doesn't take as much to start the rhythm
to get
again.
back in it.
Yeah.
And you have the perspective that this is only for a season.
Mm-hmm.
So like with our church thing, we were going on Saturday nights, and it was like the magic time. I don't know if you guys have church on Saturday nights.
All the perfect
Magic time for families with young children. So excited about it. And then our church stopped having the Saturday nights and only has this like early morning on Sunday that's not in the middle of nap time. So, or it's that or going at like in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're in this awkward transition, but I just keep reminding myself that it's only for a season. These babies are not going to nap 2 times a day for the rest of their lives, or even for the rest of this year, probably. And so I think that's, instead of getting down on ourselves, and then just finding creative ways that like we can sacrifice, maybe we go to church every other week in our household for a little while. And so you're constantly adjusting all of your rhythms. Like you're going to get out of your rhythms, but you just return, and you're going to have to adjust based off the season. Yeah. We're not going to be doing gardening. Like we were going and watering our garden every morning. Well, our garden has pretty much reached its full life right now, so we've sort of stopped doing that because it's over. We got the plants that we planted this season did really well, and now they're done, and we're just taking a little break from that to concentrate on chickens and some more house projects around here, and then eventually some more garden projects in preparation for next year. And that's not like oh no, we're not gardeners anymore. It's like, okay,
seasons.
It's a season. And that rhythm is down for a little bit, and we're going to come back and do it even more next year when it starts, when planting season comes, and make that little improvement that we've learned. So.
It makes me think, I tell patients all the time when I go to show them a rehab exercise or something, and they're always like, oh my gosh, you're amazing at that. Not to toot my own horn. But the thing I always say is time and reps, man. Time and reps. And that's all of life. Like the more time and the more reps you put into it, the easier it's going to be, the more you're into that rhythm. And I think that's with, these types of things like the gardening. It's like the more time and reps you put in, the more that you're going to be going down and watering, and then realizing, okay, this isn't the season for that. I need to work on this thing now. And you just kind of get used to those things, and it starts to feel easy.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It starts to become like second nature. So I wish that I had this understanding as a kid. I feel like, hindsight, I feel like I could have just like my 20s could have been so much more fruitful. And they were, because God is faithful like that, and he turns everything around. But I'm excited to give that to our kids and to just help them live in this rhythm. And a lot of that means saying no to a lot of things. It really does. It means saying no to a lot of things and living differently and having boundaries. But that's okay.
To add on to that, I think this makes it easier too, because I am the king of not organizing. And anytime someone says, hey, can you do blank on this day? I'm like, I don't know, probably, or ask Aubrey. Getting into rhythms has made it so much easier to say no. To say, no, man, I got a kids thing on that day.
Yeah.
No, that's a family day. Like just knowing I'm not doing that on that day because we have family day on that day. Sorry, man. Friday nights is movie night. Not doing anything Friday night.
And okay, this doesn't mean that you never like drop your things to help someone.
Yeah.
But you have boundaries for that. Like if there's something that as a family you feel called to do, and we hope there is something, we know there is something that God gave you, your mission, then you make space for that in your schedule. You make that a big part of your culture and your life. You practice that at home, and you go out and do that as a part of your week. Like for us, part of our mission is our callings, our jobs.
Yeah.
Like our jobs are both something that we feel really called to. That's not true for everyone. Sometimes a job is just a job, and that's fine.
That's okay too.
But both of us feel like our jobs are also a part of our calling. And so that's a part of our regular schedule, right? Homeschooling is a part of my calling and my mission in this season of life. And so that's a part of my regular schedule. And then, so we see family as more important than work, more important than even like other people in like the church. And that's not saying, I think we've all grown up with this idea that like, in the scripture, Jesus says, whoever basically like doesn't love me more than your family, like you're not good enough, or first of all, none of us are good enough. That's why Jesus had to come.
Yeah.
But second of all, loving or saying yes to everything that every like extended family member, church member asks you to do is not the same thing as loving God. I just want to separate that, because I think I feel like that's like you can get this guilt like, oh, I didn't say I would go do this for this person like that one time, and I like held a boundary because I wanted to be home ministering to my children, and that was selfish. And it's just what?
Or they're like, I volunteer 7 days a week at church. It's amazing.
Yeah, never see my family.
I hate church, but I volunteer 7 days a week.
And my kids don't know who I am, that's not
balance. We need balance.
Yeah, right. God called us to the ministry of family first in the Garden of Eden. He said, be fruitful and multiply. He's a father, right? Mm-hmm. Family is really important, and you can go do those things with your family. And I think that's really important too.
Mm-hmm. And I meant that more in the sense of I'd no longer double, triple book things.
Yes. Yeah.
But same thing.
But I still think it's important to say, because I remember like just that low key guilt of like you needed to be saying yes to everyone else, or else you didn't love God. But yet it was okay to say no to your closest family, the ones that he like gave you to love and serve. And I think that's a twisted ideal in our culture. I really do, even in the church. So
people are hard.
Yeah. No. No, I just
including us.
Yeah. It's like that it's like that quote by Mother Teresa. She says something about, and I'm gonna butcher it, but like basically that we could change the world if we would all just go home and love our families well. Yeah. Because that's gonna change the world. So anywho, that was off topic. Okay, so back on topic. I guess just to summarize, what would your biggest recommendation be for people who are just getting started with rhythms?
Start small and be consistent. Long-term mindset. Mm-hmm. It will make your life so much easier. It's difficult in the beginning, but so much easier.
Yeah. The older you get, the long-term gets a little bit more easier to see. Yeah. Right. All right. Well, I think that's all for this week. Did you have anything else?
I think so.
Okay. We will see you guys back here next episode.
I'll see you next week.
Bye.
I just wanna see the light.